Alright, boys, how's all done?
Right.
Yeah, good man.
Good.
Good. What's been happening? Another week, another dose of heart sitting top of the table. This is enjoyable, isn't it? I think genuinely the lowest we've been in the league is second for like well over a year.
I'm not used to it, but it's a house of cards. It'll all come tumbling down eventually.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
that's true, but let's ride the wave. Let's ride the wave.
Looking forward to Champions League football and the parade in May and everything. It'll be great.
Well, we've got a song about the Champions League now, so there you go. Josh Ginnelly is all that we need, isn't he?
That's been in my head.
It's okay, winner. He's got to take us to the Champions
That's
League.
been in my head since Saturday, and I wasn't even at the game. It's just been in it.
It's class. And well, let's settle an early debate, right? I'm going to play a game with you, right? I'm going to talk you through some cup finals. All I want you to do is just name the songs that instantly jump out. Not the songs as in what we sing, but like the songs that were played over the tannoy that remind you of certain events, right? So let's start an easy one. 2012, 5-1. What song or songs instantly remind you of that cup final?
Levels.
Anything else?
So one by Pedro.
2012. Mine was it not Paulo Sergio?
Paulo Sergio, yeah.
Killing the gang.
Casey and the Sunshine
There we
Band.
go. So that's it. There we go.
Casey, there we
There you
go.
go. There you go. There's two songs from that cup final. Let's do 2006. What are your memories of
Electric Six.
Electric Six for when?
White Stripes, you mean?
2006.
Seven Nation Army.
White Stripes.
White Stripes.
Seven Nation Army. The one Shanks said. That's
yeah. See, I'm not a band geek like half of yous on this call, so I've got no idea.
Right, so there we go. We've got some songs for that one, and then probably more one for Kev and Ando and myself. 98 cup final, Scottish Cup final. What songs remind you of that?
The one for the 98 World Cup final. Something Carnival de Paris. Was that?
Oh,
that one. That one's
the one.
The one where we won the cup in the same year that Hibs were relegated.
That's the one, aye.
That one, the song that we've been singing since 1998, but apparently have stole off Hibernian. It's great that they glorify that song that we sung the year they were relegated whilst we won the cup. That was good. There you go. That was a nice wee way to start the podcast, just to get that out.
Can I just
early.
add, how good has Hibs Twitter been this week? I know we're only like 2 days in,
it's been
but
super, right? It's been class. They don't care though. They don't care. They're not interested. But they've been rattled by absolutely everything that is posted by Hearts, which is great fun. But we'll come into all that later. Anyway, so boys, what's been happening? Tam, how's your week been?
It's been alright. Just quiet, to be fair. So watched the game on Saturday. Unfortunately paid for the pay-per-view because I couldn't get up there. I won tickets by Glenn's Vodka, but I couldn't even go in the weigh-in, so I didn't bother going. And that's really my weekend.
Right. And you also said you paid for the stream, which is total nonsense, but we'll skip over that. Brad, it's good to have you back. I thought we were going to have to sell you on transfer deadline day, so it's good to see you back with the boys. How's things been?
It's been alright, mate. Aye, Kev said he was going to sort me out with some Wi-Fi, and I've been down for over a month now, so that's why I've been away. So
that's what happens when you do. That's what happens when you deal with Kev. Shanksy boy, what's been up to?
Well, Tam actually sold me the tickets that he won for free, and then I found out that they were in the home end, so I never actually went to the game. Or
oh my God, Shanks, what's happening? So good to talk to you again. What's been going on? No way, man.
The free tickets that Tam got, he actually flogged them to me, and then told me that they were in the home end. So
totally new information. Wow, never heard that before. Jeez.
Just to clarify, we've had some technical difficulties here. I can't even say it. Fucking hell.
we've had technical I can't even slag you. I can't even say it.
Technical difficulties.
Who did we get to? So I said all right to Shanks. Now who else? Have I said all right to Kev?
Nah, go for
Kev.
Kev.
Say all right. Kev, what's happening? You all right?
Aye, great.
No way. Been in the Sheriff Court this week?
Been in the Sheriff Court? No.
No chance. That's unbelievable.
I'm amazed you knew that.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just Mystic Corps, man. Can't all about it. And
new feature.
By the time this lands on YouTube, you're probably home and had to fix this mess that Tam has left behind. But how are you in the back of whatever that is?
Well, I'm in the front of the I'm in the passenger seat. I'll not show you what's happening in the rear of the van because I'll get a row for it. But safe to say, I'm fine. My week's been superb, and I'm raging that Tam is action quality of this down into the basement.
Are you carrying on?
Just carry on. It's working fine. Well, not fine, but it's working again.
This is staying in. This is staying in.
Tam, you can creatively edit out all this pish.
Yep.
No, it's staying in. Folk need to know what we're working with.
It's my first time. I was nervous. I didn't know how it worked.
Don't worry, loyal listeners. Ando will be back looking after things from next week, and it'll all be good.
Tam is officially having to thumb one in because it was his first time and he's nervous. Right. We're just continuing as we are.
Why not?
Right, cool. Well, welcome back to This Is My Story podcast, your unofficial Hearts podcast. As we say every week, all of our opinions are our own and totally, and as you have seen, if you've lasted this long, because we've been recording for 4 hours, for the 3.5 minutes worth of YouTube that you've seen so far, you'll already know that this is an absolute shambles of a production. If you like to keep in contact with us, get in contact on Twitter at This My Story Pod. You can get in contact with us at the website, which is admin@thisismystory.uk, and you can catch us on Instagram, which is This Is My Story 1874. Cool. Right. Well, what I was going to do, well, obviously this week we'll dive into, as you'll have seen on social media, we were very kindly invited to the official handover Heart and Soul Day on Monday. We'll have some of the sound bites from the interviews spliced into this podcast at some point today. And then towards the end of the podcast, we'll dive into the detail about some future exciting interviews and stuff that we'll have with the powers that be at the football club. But we'll obviously dive into it in more detail. But Monday was quite an emotional day, wasn't it? The video was a tearjerker, like it was bang on.
I wasn't expecting Big Craigie to be all kind of emotional and deep like that. It was it got to me like.
He's got it all into Big Craigie. He's got
I'd leave my wife. I'm like
sex on legs.
Perfect man. He's handsome, he's rugged, but he's got that nice, soft and gentle side that says he would cuddle me after, and I like.
I'd let him read me a bedtime story. Like I reckon it'd be quite nice.
But you would need to get past thumbing it in, or he'll be nowhere near you. It was, but it was a class day, and again, it was, you'll hear it when I was discussing with Budge, Andrew McKinlay, Stuart Wallace and Gary Halliday. It's one of the things I kept sort of reiterating was the fact that the magnitude of what Monday signified I don't think it'll ever really sink in with us for probably years down the line, if you know what I mean, when you think of where we were as a football club and the fact that, as I said in my interviews, you know, where you look back to where we've been. I remember the dark days of Chris Robinson basically emotionally blackmailing us, telling us that the only way the club could survive was if we sold Tynecastle and moved to a retail park next to IKEA. And now there we are on Monday, fans having ploughed in 13 million of our own money, nearly 60 million pounds over the 7 years, brand new stand, sitting top of the league. It was an unbelievable day. So hopefully you enjoy the little bit of content that we got from Budge and Co later on. But let's bring it down a level. Let's go back to last week's Shanks McCann Remembers. Shanks, you weren't here. Can you even remember what you said?
I do. I've got last one's.
Right.
So I think the one that I put forward was the Czechs couldn't get past the waistcoat. Thought it was all over. The waistcoat being Gareth Southgate. Thought it was all over when my favourite player, Paul Hartley, fouled ex-Valencia man in the box with less than 15 to go. Can't remember his name. Not important. They're 8 million. Mendieta, that was it. They're 8 million summers. Superstar banged it in. Yakubu, and thankfully Andy Webster leveled us up for an impressive draw 1-1. That was on the 22nd of May 2005. And then I think you put forward one, which was last week's draw with Aberdeen.
Draw with Aberdeen. That's right. That's right.
So moving us on.
There's a new element for the listeners to have spliced in. We are now also including pre-season friendlies, as McShanks can't remember or whatever it's called. So there you go. Just when the level of nonsense couldn't get any harder, you now have to potentially be working with the East of Scotland Shield, Festival Cups, pre-season friendlies, and the Open tournament.
Yeah, Shanks, we'll pick up offline on the content for this going forward, shall we?
Like, no. And I'll just pick you up on last week as well, because if none of you did know, I do know how to spell Osasuna, you prick. And the tomato chuckers clearly was because I didn't want to be racist and talk about the bull running, so I thought I'll go for something a wee bit less to the bone, and that's why I went for the Pamplona tomato chuckers, which is obviously where Osasuna are from. So apologies for being educated.
We can see Google. We can see Google in your glasses, mate.
Sorry, I'm actually.
You're trying to put it down. I can see it. That looks quite dodgy. What I can see in your glasses now. Some fomenting going on in those glasses. I can see it. Right. Anyway, let's move on. What have you got this week?
This week, it was a pishy, freezing Wednesday night. Only 14,000 inside Tiny. Miko played a blinder. We got level with 3 minutes to go. Absolute limbs. On loan Bristol City man with pishy highlights clashed in the box. Then the linesman gave it. 2 red cards later, he was never going to miss, was he? Absolute spewing.
I loved that night because it was crazy. It was actual mental. Remember the old main stand? There's like, you could stand on the roof of the John Robertson suite thing.
That's right.
There was literally folk in suits on that roof, chucking coins and everything and kicking off. And this is class. I also like how you said only 14,000 at a time when Tynecastle probably's max capacity was like 16,000.
16 and a half.
What you mean is a near sellout is what you've described there.
Had it been a Saturday, that would have been sold out every single day of the week.
Cool. Right, so we're just going to go with one this week because you're worried that we're running out of games for you to cover.
I've got to stretch it to games that I can actually remember. So it's going to be a long season.
Season friendlies in 05.
Wait, this is what we signed up for. We knew that this was what was coming. And just to clarify, the people that are strangely keeping scores, my one was obviously last week's 1-1 draw with Aberdeen. Cool. Now time for a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Bike Speed UK. Any Jambo using the promo code This Is My Story will get 10% off at checkout.
For every biker's every need, think Bike Speed UK. From motorcycle parts and accessories to the best biker wear. Think bike, think Bike Speed UK.
Right, headlines this week. So it's transfer deadline day as we record. What have we got? 13 minutes left of it, or does it shut at midnight?
I think it's
Shuts at midnight. Midnight for Scotland and 11 o'clock for England.
That's what it is.
There we go. I like how you instantly got that wrong, Tam.
No.
Instantly got it, and then you're like...
Just been watching Sky Sports News all day, so it's like they've got the wee timer and that. They didn't care about Scotland, do they?
Yeah, that is very true. So, as it stands right now, today obviously, finally, we announced that we have signed Cameron Devlin from what they called Newcastle Jets or something like that in Australia or whatever. They are kind of box-to-box midfielder. Seems to be the absolute thing we've been crying out for ages, and we've had a couple of incarnations of this was going to be the next Colin Cameron or Paul Hartley, Aaron McInnes being one of them currently. So interesting to see how this guy gets on. He seems very highly rated, which is good. Anybody know anything about him, or we just move on to the fact that Popescu and Roberts have officially gone as well today?
Wow.
Nah, they're on both on loan.
Handsome. That's what I know about.
Yes, Handsome. I'll give that. He does. Yes, Handsome.
We paid the fee for Devlin, is what I'm saying.
50 grand. 50 grand. But
50 grand. Well, there we go. So again, suppose we can just talk about it since it's there, but we've got to be pretty impressed with this transfer window. And it's felt, although the same numbers have came in, we can't ignore that considering we've been speaking about it for so long. We've talked at length the fact that every transfer window we average 7 signings. I think Cam Devlin takes us over 100 signings since Budge took over. But this one feels different in terms of transfer windows. The last ones have felt just absolute panic buy. We had classics like we signed Sean Clare as an attacking right midfielder, play him in his first game as a striker. Then we've played him at right back, and then we told everybody he was going to be a centre midfielder. And then eventually his best position was back to being right back. We said we didn't need to sign any goalkeepers, and then we signed fucking 70 of them. There was one transfer window where I think we brought in 18 players or something daft like that. This one, I think I can officially get behind because it's felt targeted. We've took our time. We've not known about them until they've came in. And when they have came in so far, they have added quality to the team. It wasn't lost on us, and we'll talk about the performance on Saturday, but I think one of the big things about Saturday is when we naturally kind of ran out of steam, we changed it. We brought Giannelli on. The only reason we could do that is because we had Woodburn playing in that like for like quality. When you look at Aberdeen, which we spoke about the week before, you're looking at bringing on Henderson, Walker, Denham, Pollock, or whatever young boys from the bench, hoping to get a reaction. There we literally brought on quality. One of them set up the goal, the other one scored the goal. So I think that's what's been most impressive about this transfer window for me. What about you?
You've hit the nail on the head, and I was talking to whoever it was, Tam and Braz, I think in the pre-show, saying it's been measured. It's been a lot more precise in this transfer window, and it's quality over quantity. It's like beforehand, as you rightly say, the amount of times that we've went out and just bought shite just for the sake of buying shite, and hoping some of it will stick. This seems a lot more targeted, a lot more measured, and yeah, absolutely no problems with the transfer window so far. I think it's been really good.
And let's also remember, we've got an hour and a half left to sign Aaron Hughes or Stephen McLean or Don Cowie or whatever. The transfer window isn't shut yet. Kev, what were you going to say? Some of your pals signing?
No, I was just actually going to say that's the one thing that's going to really probably disappoint for a lot of us is the fact that we're not going to have that 11:35 signing of some Lithuanian that you've never heard of in your pub before, but you actually know that he's actually just coming in to do the electrics on that second floor because we've done fuck all with that level of the new stand.
But it's like you said, like we bring in Stephen McLean at the age of 36 and our manager's boasting how he knows his knees are shite and he can't run. You're like, what are you doing? You're on my football team, man. I want actual players. Brad's, you've done a lot of scouting for the club in this transfer window. Is there any last minute deals about to go through that we should know of?
I don't know. They were talking about this Everton boy, centre back, potentially being another one coming in, and I don't know. I think Robbie had said they were talking today about a striker and another goalkeeper coming in. But they could always be free agents once this window closes, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. I think as it stands now, a couple of insiders, as you would potentially call them, have sort of tweeted to say that the word from Hearts is that we're done. There'll be a few more players that maybe potentially go out. A couple of the young boys will probably go out on loan, but that market doesn't shut tonight, and neither does the free agent market either. You can bring anybody in whenever type thing. Shanks, 2 weeks ago you told us we didn't need any more centre midfielders. How are you feeling now?
I just wanted a striker 2 weeks ago and we've still not got one. So I'd like us to see pick somebody up, but you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I don't want it to be a journeyman. So far it's been impressive to see some of the young talent we've brought in and from some fairly prestigious clubs as well. If you look at where we've got Liverpool, Everton, Brighton, all Premier League clubs, Bristol, Preston, we're not just signing unknown quantities here. They're obviously well-respected academy players that have been doing well for those. So yeah, quite happy overall, I think.
Apart from that cheesy cunt.
Apart from him, man.
He can do one.
Apart from him, everything else has been absolutely fine, hasn't it? Popescu and Roberts, again, it's one of those things that I don't have any ill will towards either of them. They just probably aren't to the standard that's required for Hearts in it. Yeah, they probably should have been shifted earlier in the window, but I think that's a bit of an indictment as to how good they are actual. Popescu's went to Hamilton on loan, and Jordan Roberts has just rejoined Motherwell after saying he would like to play. What is it? He said he was going to get a move to the Premier League or something, didn't it? He said he wanted to play in the English Premier League. I was like, mate, you'll be playing in the Vauxhall Conference North in about a year, so you just pipe down, man. You just back in your wee box.
The two of them just go under that category of like meaningless Hearts players that you'll never even think of again, to be honest.
Aye. And again, that's... Oh, on you go, Kev.
I was going to say, you're never actually going to get buy the new strip with actually Roberts and his number on the back of it, were you? You weren't. It was never going to be part
His
of it.
His family are the only people that have bought that top, man.
Popescu and 14 or whatever he was. He's just never someone that was ever sold in the shop.
Aye. But again, it's like no ill will towards them. They helped us do exactly what was needed. Well, Popescu did. Roberts has done literally nothing for Hearts, but Popescu helped us get out the league, which is all that was kind of asked of him. But again, that's, if we're going to be serious and look, this is potentially the first real window that we've had with Savage and having his vision and how he wants the club to go. And we've spoken to him, and he told us exactly what the blueprint was, and so far he's delivered. And again, it's been mightily impressive. And what shouldn't be overlooked is the fact that John Murray and some of the other development guys in the recruitment side of it or whatever were still there. He's only really had his team in place for maybe 2 months tops. So it makes you, we've been in positions before, we've had okay transfer windows or the summer transfer window, but you're looking at the winter one thinking, we need bodies in or whatever. It feels like, come the January transfer window, if we need bodies, Savage is the man to get them in.
The likelihood is he's already looking at possible signings for that period.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And the other thing...
how long did we get Benny for? What was his contract?
3 years.
That is an absolute coup, by the way. That is...
that's a joke, isn't it?
I'm trying to see him here for 3.
And that's worth talking about, is that if you look at players that we've brought in Ginnelly, we brought in Devlin, Benny. They're all in 3-year deals. We've got Gary Mackay-Steven as well, 3-year deals. It's maybe not so much GMS, but the others, they've got absolute sell-on potential. Which you're looking at before they come in, have a great season, and then they go back to their parent club and they get 4 or 5 million for them, and we get left with no one. If Benny continues in the vein he is right now, he'll be lucky if we see him January the 1st. Do you know what I mean? He'll be sold and shipped out. The other news as well that kind of filtered through today, I don't know if it indicates that potentially he is going to sign a new contract, but the club releasing the news that we turned down a couple of bids for John Souttar from a championship club in England, again, can only be a good thing. I think that's just the club trying to show and show that we're not a selling club or whatever, but it's still good news, isn't it?
It's great news. And Brad said earlier on about this young laddie for Everton, I think that was maybe why they'd looked at that player if Souttar was to go out. But news is that it looks like he's staying, and as you rightly say, fingers crossed he signs a new contract. And I think he's already came out and said that the club stood by him throughout his injuries, and he does want to sort of repay the club in some way. Fingers crossed then the way he does repay the club is that he signs a contract which is 2 or 3 years, and if it means that we're in 12 months' time and he does then go out for a few million quid, I actually would probably go as far to say that, yeah, you've done the right thing and you stood by us as we stood by you. So, with that point of view, I think he would leave with everybody's sort of appreciation, if you know what I mean.
Right. And if Celtic are getting 15 million for Edward, 50 million for Souttar is fair, in my opinion, because he's still in his back pocket anyway, isn't he, for the opening game of the season. So
2 for 1.
He's got 15 million. He's got 15 million in his back pocket, Souttar. So sell him on, which is good. So overall, pretty successful transfer window for me. No, that's dead easy because we're unbeaten so far in the league and we look to be on course to have a semi-decent season or whatever. But again, like you said, I like the cut of Savage's jib. He looks like he gets what we're all about.
So I think from my questions from this is obviously, how do the two now merge together? How do you work? Because obviously you're CEO of the football club, we have the Foundation of Hearts now involved. What does that look like in a sort of a working day-to-day?
There's no real change, and what I mean by that is for a long time now, the board of the club has had two Foundation of Hearts members on that board, and that remains the case. And as the chief executive, my accountability is to the board of the club, and they're the ones that hire and ultimately fire me. And you know the view of the fans will come through FOH and come, as it already does, and through their board members. Having said that, it would be ridiculous to suggest that we are not aware of what the views of the fans are. You know, sometimes you hear things said like, "Oh, I don't think they know what." You know, we watch the same football. We are very well aware. But as I've said to others, the job of the board and my job is to try and stay calm when there's highs and when there's lows. Try not to get carried. You know, this weekend, fantastic. Yep. We're all really happy. Of course we are. I'd much rather have that than the opposite. But I've got to try and remain just calm because, and you know, in the week after we had the difficult, very difficult week or two last season, again, I had to just remain calm through all of that. So from a day-to-day running perspective, it doesn't change. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I think, you know, since I've come in, I've engaged with the FOH guys, engaged with the G10 group of fans, and I'm always happy to engage with other fans as well. And, you know, I always want to hear what the views are. But as I say, we know pretty quickly what the views are. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things Hearts fans are kind of known for is the fact that it's a massive club.
Yeah.
You know, I think today only highlights that. You know, we could do 5 paper maths and say that I think in the 7 years, Hearts fans directly through season tickets, merch, generous donations from wealthy Hearts fans, it's nearly 60-70 million pounds that's come through the football club in that time. It's staggering.
Be a lot of money. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it is staggering. I mean, I was aware before I came in, obviously of how big a club it is, but it's only when you really get involved in it that you appreciate not just how passionate the fans are, but how loyal they've been, how much they have. You know, for many of them, I'm sure there's been financial sacrifices and other sacrifices for this club that means so much to them. And I genuinely, you know, it's trite to say that, you know, our fans are the best. So I won't just give you that cliche, but they have been incredibly loyal over that period and remain incredibly loyal. You know, I know last season fans weren't happy with some of what they saw on the pitch. I get that. But when we went out and sold season tickets, they've rallied to the cause, and our season ticket numbers are, you know, they're looking better than I think even we thought they would be. And I think that just says a huge. Now we've had a great start to the season as well, which helps all of that. But having said that, you know, a lot was said last year when there were no fans about how important fans are to football, and I think we all knew that. But last year was the first time that actually we saw that for real. And football without fans is nothing. It's as clear as that.
Yeah, and I think we've had, luckily enough, to have Jamie Walker and Josh Janelli on the podcast, and there's been a whole part of last season that wasn't lost on me is that the fans are Hearts, and to play a season in this stadium where you are here, like we're here today, it's ridiculous and have nobody in it. That's not playing for Hearts. Sunday against Aberdeen was
absolutely, and you know, and they all loved that. There's no doubt when and you know, I saw it on Saturday up at Tannadice as well. For them to see the away support was just magnificent. Yeah. And you know, I mean, I was sitting in my seat as I went into the director's box, and I could see the queue up Tannadice Street of people trying to get in. And I was just like, "Blimmin' heck, you know, I hope they all get in as soon as possible." And it did seem to go down, but
yeah, I was excited for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, we did see that, but that. You know, that was fantastic to see that. I think the other thing, and maybe Josh and Jamie touched upon this as well, and I've said this to media as well, that I think people didn't appreciate last year maybe how difficult it was for some of our newer signings in particular. There's a number of them came in on their own, without family, in a city they didn't know, in lockdown. And as I said to many other people, you put yourself in that position. Do you think you could do your job to your best ability?
Yeah.
And I get it. I'm not asking the fans to give them leap, but I think some of that was lost last year. And I think the other thing that we were quite clear about, and hopefully you guys will be seeing this now, but a number of the signings that were made last year were not made for the championship.
Yeah.
Now we did make them we were always cognizant that our first priority was get out of the championship, but notwithstanding how anyone might have, I never felt worried about that. Not at one point during the season did I feel we wouldn't get out of the championship. But you'll know which players I'm talking about. There's a number of them that we bought them for the Premiership.
Question if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yes, we've obviously reached today's milestone, which is massive. I think that the magnitude of today won't ever be felt until these things are years down the line. When we watched the video today and I was thinking, geez, I can remember where we were. I can remember being here at St Mirren and thinking it's the last time I watched Hearts. What's the next milestone for the club now that where we are? Where do we go now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think off the pitch, as I said, nothing will change from a day-to-day basis. I think where we go now, to me, is we really make sure this club is back to where we all believe it should be, and we establish ourselves as one of the top teams in Scotland. And I don't just mean, it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, I want to be the third team. I want us to challenge Rangers and Celtic. I want us to be there, and I want us to be well positioned when things might happen on a European stage, that this club is seen as a club that people want involved in that, and that my job and the job of the others is to make sure the club is ready when those opportunities arise, and that's what we are all working to achieve.
Well, yes, as you say, fantastic day. I'm really pleased because so many people said it would never happen. How do I feel? I feel very proud that the fans, and I include myself in that, because the only reason I got involved in the first place is because I was a fan. So we have actually achieved what we set out to achieve. I didn't ever want to own a football club, I have to say. It was always the fans, so I said, okay, I'll help facilitate it. So I'm delighted because we've got here. I've read so many articles, academic articles, all sorts, about why fans' ownership doesn't work. So I'm delighted that we're going to prove to them that it can work. So where do we go from here? When we set out, in my part of the bargain was try and get the club financially stable, get us into a situation where, we don't have to go through what we went through in 2013.
Yes.
And so I'm delighted that we've done that. So the club is in a good place. There will be ups and downs. There may, God forbid that there's ever another pandemic, but, who knows what's around the corner. And so there will be times when the club is going to have to say, we need your help or whatever. But the thing about the Foundation of Hearts that I think has now been proved is those people who pledge, they genuinely see it as they're pledging for life. They know that they are now providing that finance that the club might from time to time need. So I really think we've got a very, very bright future ahead of us. We're in a place now where we have a platform that we can really move forward.
Agreed. So my thing actually, you may have seen it, you may be aware of it, but someone shared it on Twitter today, and obviously the background of today, where we're sitting, I thought it was quite poignant. So I thought, I'm going to read you it, and then we can take stock of where we are. I'll not read it all because it's a massive thing, but basically it says this was the concluding part of a statement issued by Chris Robinson back into early 2000. But he said, the board, however, is charged with recognising and realising the situation described in this document, and the situation where the head has to rule the heart. The future of the football club is more important than simply the stadium we play our football in. However, we will require everyone involved at Hearts accepting that relocation is essential, embracing it and continuing to support the club rather than simply the club at Tynecastle. And here we are now, where we're fan-owned inside a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. How do you sum that up?
Well, if I look back over the last 7 years and think, well, what the highlights been, clearly one of them has been getting the backing, actually, of the supporters as well as other people to help us build this stand. And I always talked about it as it's a redevelopment of Tynecastle. It's not building a new stand, because you know, if we go into all these other stands, some of them are quite old now. They need constant refurbishment, constant upgrading. So this is a fantastic stadium for all the reasons we know. And someone said to me literally just last week, I think you made a mistake, Anne. You should have built a 30,000 stadium. I said, well, you know, we are constrained. You know, it's this business of if we want to stay at Tynecastle, which of course we do, what's possible. So I think we've started it. This stand is amazing, as you know. It's not totally finished yet. We've still got more to do. And then we've also got so much more to do on the other stands. And yeah, we can upgrade them, we can do all sorts. So Tynecastle has got a lot of life in it yet. And it is one of the things that it doesn't matter who's in the chair or who's on the board, we can't move from Tynecastle unless the fans vote for it, you know. So, and that's the key thing about this, is that the fans, most of them don't want to run a football club, but they want to protect us from certain things that may have happened or been threatened to happen in the past. They want to know that they're never going to be faced with that again. And these are the things that we have protected, so they can be confident it won't happen. So no, I think it's super.
So my last question is, after everything that's happened, has you at any point allowed yourself to step back and think, look at what I've done here?
Not really, to be honest, because life's always been pretty full on, and this will sound a wee bit trite, but it's not. It's actually it's about building a team, and I don't mean a football team. I mean a management team, and all the guys that keep this place ticking. It's us who've done it. You know, yes, financially supported by the fans, but it's not about what I've done. It's about what we have done as a team, and that management team continues. So that will be good.
Thank you very much.
Great, thanks very much, guys.
I told you it would be nice.
You were nice.
I told you it would be nice.
I might listen to it.
Don't.
So, just because you touched on it there, but I thought it was poignant. I seen it on Twitter earlier. Someone shared it, and I thought, where we are today, in this stand as well, in the moments, I thought I'd read you something from 2000.
We're not ready for any more
2000
emotions.
and something, right? Just don't worry, you're not going to get emotional, you're probably going to get angry. Right, so here we go. This is in conclusion. The board, however, is charged with recognising and realising the situation as described in this document. And this is a situation where the head has to rule the heart. The future of the football club is more important than simply the stadium we play our football in. We require everyone involved at Hearts accepting that the relocation is essential, embracing it and continuing to support the club rather than simply the club at Tynecastle. And here we are today, inside the stand, fan-owned.
Yeah, in a stadium that was not fit for purpose.
What a journey it's been.
Yeah. I pretty much know who that was, but I'm not going to say anything. Why would you want to move to Tynecastle? And I think if we'd moved to Murrayfield, what would have happened there? You know, it would have ended up just being a soulless ball. So it goes right back to those days. So somebody's put that on.
Someone shared it, put it on Twitter.
There you go.
Fraser Smith, the guy was so well done, Fraser.
I mean, this place is the heartbeat of the football club. That's the thing, and I think the big moment passed when we were talking about the governance structure, and the members voted on it, and we gave them the 4 big issues. And I remember saying this was the day we effectively said to the fans, it's Tynecastle, and the only way we'll ever now move from Tynecastle is if all you vote for it. And that was just enormous to be able to do that and say, it's done, we'll never move from here now.
Yeah, and I think you guys are probably in the same boat, but you guys had to sell the dream. But when I talk to people about fan ownership, I was at Saughton Park with Gary McKay, probably you, and we walked from there to Tynecastle. We released the black balloons. I was at the lock-in outside here where we wouldn't let them out. I gave them season tickets when I didn't have money. We had to raise £1 million in 2 weeks or whatever. I was here at St Mirren. When you talk about this, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer. Set a direct debit up. I can own my football club. I can save it.
Well, £10 a month. As I say, you walk around the corner there, a pint a week will be dearer than that.
Exactly.
Today, for me, if you're a member of the Foundation of Hearts, you're now the custodian of the football club.
Yep.
And what an honour that is. So why would you not want that honour? And we always say, like, just pledge what you can afford.
Yep.
So most folk can afford to pledge a tenner. So we're hoping we get a few more members on board.
The membership's ticking up this morning, by the way. So we were saying, if there was ever a notion, we thought we might get the question next door to say, are you worried now that ownership is yours, the membership might drift away? I was ready to say, not on the basis of what I'm saying this morning, where the membership's only going in one direction, but I quoted Gary outside with the BBC when I said Gary has always said, all we did at Foundation of Hearts was build a vehicle. It's up to the supporters now. How far do you want to take it?
And I think it's something that I don't know what the plans are, but I know we've done the talks behind us. We've done a talk to sort of commemorate what we've been up to, but the journey the fans have been on together, all of us, I think we need something. We need something in the pipeline to celebrate this. I know that we're still kind of suffering from COVID, so we can't get things together, but we need to do something now because it's unbelievable what we've done.
There will be an open day. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, we're doing another sort of wee bit of sort of regeneration of the Foundation of Hearts area in the museum. So we're looking at trying to get something organised for the end of September, where it's an open day for the members and the fans to come along and chat to everybody and walk around and have a feel of the stadium and everything like that. So that's what we're hoping to do. And then every year we always have a foundation day, so that'll continue probably into next season. We'll have one of those, and we've got another couple of ideas that'll come out in the next sort of few weeks to months. So it'll be great, really
Some
good.
Big things coming, but still to be announced.
I didn't get the opportunity to say to Anne when she was in earlier, but I was thinking on the way in today when I was thinking, what could we talk about, what could I ask or whatever, and I was thinking one of the sticks that's used often, you'll see it yourself, to sort of beat Anne when things aren't going great here, is this lack of football knowledge or football business. And actually, when I was driving thinking about it, I think if Anne had the baggage of football and owning a football club, she'd have said no when you showed up and asked her the question. She'd have said no, because football men and owners that have had that baggage with it, that won't work. It won't work, and they'd have walked away. And the fact that she didn't is probably the reason that we're even here right now, because I don't think she would have said yes.
And Gary heard it more than me, and also heard it at the Scottish Parliament, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. We had a meeting with a sports minister or something right back at the beginning, and we got ushered.
Nice idea, guys. See you later.
We got ushered at the side door, but here we are. And did we approach Anne at the beginning to get our money? I didn't think we did, actually. We were actually just wanting our business expertise, but we approached loads of business people around Edinburgh just to try and pull things together, and a lot of people did come on board. A lot of people came to our table. Stuart's one of them who saved us nearly £2.5 million worth of VAT money now, so that was the expertise that we needed at the time. And I always remember the day that we were sitting, I think it was at Alec Mackey's house, and Anne was there, and we were trying to work out what to ask the fans to pledge every single month. And we were all sitting discussing this, and the obvious answer was what you could afford. And it was at that moment Anne said, look, if the club need a couple of £1 million, I'll do it, and I'll save the club. But she said the fans need to back the Foundation of Hearts first and foremost, and they did. So that's where it all come from. So she needs enormous credit for that. And you're right, if she didn't know about football, she would have went, absolutely, no chance. But
she learned quickly.
Well, we had Joe Savage on an event yesterday, and he's inspirational.
Yep.
You know, and I think, you know, if you've got guys like that in the background, I think future's bright.
He got a massive roar when I think Gary was asking him questions, and he said it's part of your role to sell this football club to potential players, and Joe looked at him indignantly and said, I shouldn't have to sell this football club to anybody. To an enormous roar in the Gordon suite.
Well, we interviewed him for the podcast,
of course,
and he was, I love this foolishness. That's what we've been missing for a long time.
Yes,
we need that. And again, that would be my plans for the future. What does it now look like for the Foundation of Hearts? What does tomorrow look like?
I've said it already. You know, the guys will say all we did was build a vehicle. It's up to the members how far they want to take it. I've said quite openly, coming from a business background, if you're acting for a client and they bought a business, the last thing you would do is say, by the way, can you now turn your investment off? You would actually say you need to invest this even harder, and that's a big ask. But it is really saying to supporters, how big do you want it to be? We know there's 13,000 season ticket holders out there. We know that when we go to Hampden, we can sell 25,000 tickets. I've been at Hampden with probably 45,000, 50,000 Hearts fans. We'd love the membership to be driven upwards now that we've delivered what we said we were going to deliver. Fan ownership is a real thing. The more the fans back it, you would hope the more successful the football club will be.
Yeah, the journey just starts now. I mean, you think of the things that's went on, you know, and it's important to mention, you know, Ian Murray, you know, the former directors of the foundation, everybody all the volunteers, everybody that's got us to this stage. So now is the time to enjoy it, and let's just drive it forward and see where we can go, because it's unique.
Yeah,
it really is unique across the footballing world. And I've said it today. I mean, we're coming up to £13 million.
Yeah,
you know, and
it is mental. Utterly mental.
I mean, Brian Jackson. The last time he was at Tynecastle, come round the corner on McLeod Street and got very, very emotional when he seen the stand, because he thought, when he turned up here, 7 years ago, there was virtually no money in the bank. The season tickets had not been sold,
and the money gone.
The money was gone, and he's in to this. And so for me, pound for pound, best fans in the world, bar none.
Bar none, absolutely. They backed it completely, and it's just, you know, it is incredible to see now. But you're right. You listen to Brian, and he was pointing at the stand saying we thought that was years away, and to see it done already, and to see what it's created. Let's be honest, when you're upstairs and outside on a Saturday, that's what really matters to most fans. And when you're in there, it's just incredible what a stadium it is.
What one of you is putting the fax machine in for the starting 11s?
We were debating it earlier. It is something I said outside earlier. I said, well, you turn up and get involved in this, and you think you sit upstairs on a Saturday and no football, and all of a sudden you realise you don't. You know, so this whole fan-owned, not fan-run ethos, I was saying, I think it's crucial. Let the people that understand and know what they're doing get on with the day job.
That's what happens when we start losing and we start to know who the under-27s coach is. That's when you start. Well, he's been here for 15 years. That's going to be good.
Yeah. I would say they're passionate. They're passionate, and that's good.
So I suppose the big thing that we're talking about here, obviously, we've had the interviews that you will have heard with Budge, McKinlay, Halliday and Wallace. On Monday, the Foundation of Hearts officially took over as the majority shareholder in the football club. It's been a culmination of 7 years of sort of a long road that COVID kind of put back a couple of years in terms of this day happening, but it's just an unbelievable thing to sit here as co-owners of our football club, innit?
Oh, aye. This is, I was saying this to the missus earlier on, I now have a genuine excuse to go out and buy myself a sheepskin jacket because I'm part owner of a football club. I've always wanted one. I'm just going to go and buy one. I will rock up and try and get that prime seat at Tynecastle alongside the rest of you boys. Absolutely delighted it's finally happened.
Is there going to be like 14,000 Del Boys at next home game?
That absolutely will be. If we can make that a thing, I'm all for it.
Shanks has got one of those clipboard tactic board things. He's just going to sit in section G with the wee metal, the wee magnet guys moving them about. Talking about that. I did ask Stuart Wallace and Gary Halliday which one of them was installing the fax machine into the dressing room for when we decide what the starting 11 should be. We can start sending in the Vlad emails and the Vlad faxes to be like, get him benched, get him out. But aye, it's one of those things that when you actually sit down and you look at the figures, Gary Halliday said in the press that we're now a ball hair away from £13 million raised in donations directly from the direct debit vehicle. You look at our benefactors donations, tie it in with season ticket sales, merch sales, match day revenue, all that sort of stuff. You're pushing 70 million in terms of money that the fans just from their own pocket have put into the football club. That's ridiculous. I don't think that will ever be underestimated. What an achievement that is for the football club. And again, you'll have heard in the interviews, but I read to Budge and McKinlay and Wallace and Halliday the statement that Chris Robinson released in the early 2000s, where basically, and I'll paraphrase it, but you can see it's on Twitter, it's been kicking about. Fraser Smith, I think the boy was called, shared it, so thanks to that. Basically just guilt tripping the fans with his statement to say that, the heart can't rule the head here. We have to move for Tynecastle. It's the only way the club will ever survive is to move out of Tynecastle. So if we'd followed through with that, we'd have been fucking Hermiston Gate or something like that. FC would have been up by IKEA with no fans, no nothing, in a soulless, empty stadium. And now we are part owners of a football club that we all love still in its spiritual home. So well done, everybody. Pat yourselves in the back. We've been what a fan base, man.
Superb.
It's like you told, though, it's just the best direct debit of the month. You didn't really take it for granted coming out of the account, but the fact it means so much that so many people do it, it's amazing, to be fair.
Aye. And one of the things actually I wanted to bring up on here, because again, we will have Stuart Wallace and Gary Halliday on the podcast. They're going to rightly take a couple of days off. The amount of work that goes on in the background to get what happened on Monday over the line must have been overwhelming for all of them. They all have families, they all have jobs as well. So they're going to take some time off, and then we should hopefully be looking sort of middle of September. We're going to sit down in the tiny arms with the both of them, have a pint, talk about Hearts, talk about the future as well. But one of the things they highlighted, which was a good thing that I didn't know could happen, I myself have kids, and as do others on here, you can actually set up pledges and donate in your children's name until they're old enough to take over the pledge themselves, which is a facility I never knew was happening. So again, for the people that are out there that can pledge, you absolutely should pledge. I know that right now it's a difficult financial sort of landscape in terms of COVID and work and stuff, but any money that you do have, like we've said before, a fiver or a tenner is what you'd spend in Domino's or a pint or at a pub or whatever. If you can afford it, give it to Hearts, and we can help shape the future of the football club.
Definitely.
Sounds like a great idea, eh?
There you go. That's what you want. Right, so might as well talk about Saturday. So Saturday up at Tannadice, again, like we talked when we spoke to Gino, was just the fact that these are the days. Tynecastle being full and rocking are kind of par for the course, if I'm being honest with you. That's like what you expect when you sign for Hearts. But the difference for me between sort of Hearts and Hibs and Aberdeen and the rest of the teams outside of the Old Firm is the fact that, with 9,000 in attendance on Saturday, and 2,500 of them are Hearts fans, which is just phenomenal. They're the days, I think, when you're a Hearts player. I think that's where it starts to ram home just how big the football club is. The fact that for 25 minutes after the start of the game, there's still 1,000 fans outside waiting to get in. And the performance on Saturday for me has been the most impressive performance of the season so far, as we touched on talking about the transfer window. Inevitably, when you're playing away from home and after half times or whatever, the home team are going to get a rocket for the manager. They're going to come out, they're going to get a G up, they're going to try and have to go for it. I thought Hearts managed it well, and then managed to actually change and bring quality on and still keep the momentum. I thought it was as close to an all-round perfect away performance as you could have hoped for.
Absolutely.
Agreed? Yep. Tam, you watched it. What was your thoughts?
Genuinely, first half was the best away performance I've seen for Hearts out with at Easter Road in years, I would say, genuinely. Just absolutely bossed it, controlled it. They didn't look like they were going to create many chances. We needed a bit more final third, but that's like picking at little faults there, to be honest. But now we completely bossed it, to be fair. And yeah, like we obviously fell out the game a wee bit, but you touched on that earlier. Ginelli came on, Nando came on, they changed the game, gave an extra option. And it was pretty all-round great performance. I thought there was nobody performed to less than like an 8 out of the ratings for me. I wouldn't say anyone was not effective in their role. And the good thing is everyone knew what their role was as well. Although I would point out, we spoke about it last week, we did change to a 4-2-3-1 at one point during the game, and kind of put our backs against the wall. We went back to a back three, and then we got back into the game again. So it just kind of proves what we're saying. Keep it as the sort of first formation and try and no switch it, to be fair.
Aye, and I think as well, my only, if I was to be critical of the first half, is we can't miss the chances that we did. Peter Haring, for example, that's those headers. They need to nestle in the net. You can't be missing them, because in bigger games against better teams, you could potentially get punished. But I think the thing I liked the most about Saturday, and we tweeted it, was the fact that, you know, you said it a couple of times in the group chat. People talked about these world class saves that Craig Gordon made, and then you watch the highlights and you think they probably are world class saves to Bobby Zlamal and Joe Pereira or whatever, but to Craig Gordon, they are literally just run of the mill saves. Brad, you know it, the Milgrew free kick or whatever, like, he knows what he's doing. That was never ever going to go in the net. He knew exactly what was happening. He hams that up because he knows that he's going to be able to make a great save and get loads of plaudits. He knows that.
He wasn't fooled by the runs. You can see, I watched it back a few times, and he's moved over, taking a step to his right before the other two boys have ran anyway. He knows where he's going. It is a good save in the sense that there's boys running across him. He's a wee bit unsighted, but as you said, the rest of them, the other 4 or 5 saves were bread and butter for him. That's his run of the mill stuff. That's no issue for him at all. When you expect any keeper worth their salt to make those, we're just so used to having absolute dross. Anybody that saves anything is now world class.
But I think Robbie said it as well. It's like the confidence it must give the defenders to know that, you know, you expect your keeper to make those saves. So like you said, there's always going to be lapses of concentration. There's always going to be tiring or whatever, or they're going to have nice play and get through, or somebody's going to hit a world effie, whatever. And to know that your keeper's there and will pretty much be able to deal with near enough anything is just, I think, that helps. And the fact that you've got sort of Suter there as well, whose caviar just calms everybody down, talks people through. You know, young Cochrane or whatever looks starting to find his feet a little bit in this league. It's no coincidence he's getting marshalled through the matches from Gordon and Suter and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, I thought I was mightily impressed with Saturday as well.
The thing I love about
Boyce is scoring
just
again.
To point on it again, but the thing I love about Gordon saves is he does save it, but he always tips it away for the goals. Bradley kind of touched on there with the folk running in, but it's always a save that goes round the post or out to the corner flag sort of thing. It's never back into the box, and that's like, that will save you a few goals a season on rebound sort of thing as well.
Aye, and he's dead.
Especially that.
On you go, Shanks.
Especially that one in the first half. Ken, it was right down his throat, but the pace that was coming at him there, that could have easily been a wee parry out.
That's where, like, if you look at Celtic, that's where Barkas and Joe Hart, and that's where they're making their errors. They're making the save, but they're putting it into an area that's somebody else is just running and scoring.
I mean, to go back to, and you can watch it if you want, but the free kick save from Milgrew, keepers let that ball come round and then save it. Craig Gordon literally cuts it. He dives almost across his 6-yard box to take it at the easiest point before it, potentially moves or whatever. He takes it at like the optimum point where he can dive, rather than let it come round and then he has to full stretch it. He dives across it into its path and pushes it past. It's easy. And then, like you said, the instinctive stuff for me is where I think he's at his absolute best. So the header, when it's, he knows, he probably doesn't put his hand up thinking I'm going to save it. He just reacts. He just knows, well, if he's won a header, I'm just going to put my hands up here. This is probably naturally where the ball's going to go, and he makes the save, if you know what I mean. And I think, like you said there, on Sunday, when you watch the Old Firm or whatever, like the Rangers goal, Joe Hart should be better than that. Joe Hart.
Who had the header for the United? Because that was actually a better header than Hellander's.
I know. I can't. I don't know what the guy was called, Sunday United guy, but fuck him, saved it anyway. But you're right that it's like you said. It's he makes that save, and Joe Hart, who's played Man City, Burnley, Tottenham, he's played at some of the better sides in the English Premier League, and that header's pretty much straight at him, and he flaps at it and pans it into the net. It's embarrassing. So here's a question for you: is he better now than he was when we sold him for $9 million?
I'd say yes.
Ooh. Yeah, I tend to err on the side of yes as well, if I'm honest.
More commanding than he used to be. I know he's still a bit suspect sometimes coming out, but he's he's a bit more. He's got that bit more of a sort of presence about him, I would say.
He's just learned, hasn't he? Over the years of playing football, being a keeper, no doubt he's had various different goalkeeping coaches throughout his career. And what he's actually done on the park himself, he has learned his trade. It's as simple as that. And all these little stuff to take for granted. Perfect.
So we're saying 50 million for him as well?
I think maybe we need to maybe think about his age, so maybe we need to take off 2 million.
5 million.
Just lifetime contract, to be honest with you, man. Like, just sign him up forever.
Well, wait a minute. If we can get 100 million for Suter and Gordon, you take it. It's Hearts. Come on, we're the owners of the football club. You got to start thinking like one time.
I just want to piss money away, man.
Remember somebody offered like 6 million for Andy Driver, and with Hull City or something like that, and we turned it down.
And then he was injured for about 2 years.
I think he works in like Hooters in like Vancouver or something. That is literally where he is right this very second. There we go. Anything else stick out about Saturday? What did you say in the group chat, Tam? You wanted to sell Ando, was that right? We're ready to get rid of Ando.
I just said
get released
he should
on
have
a
just
free
been
contract.
subbed right back off. 2 seconds later, he goes and scores a goal. But I suppose that's what he's about, really, isn't it?
Because it was like, I think I was just having a wee look there to see if I could see it, because it was literally like sub him off and then he's just gone. That was literally the chain of events that happened. Shanks.
The only wee thing for me, and you'll correct me that if you've seen the full game, I've only seen the highlights. There was a couple of wee times where I thought that Cochrane could have done a wee bit better on the byline, and I also thought that was where a couple of their chances came in the Aberdeen game as well. Was there any signs of that, or am I just talking
Cochrane
nonsense?
absolutely strolled it, to be honest with you.
To be fair, I was in the group chat and I maybe was a wee bit harsh and a wee bit overcritical of Cochrane. I think it was that 10-minute window where it was just the route one ball. Him and Halkett were getting caught out with it. There's nobody in a million years that fucking Nicky Clark should be getting in between those two, and he was. And I think it was just that wee window of spell. Other than that, I thought he was brilliant. He was bursting forward. That was as Corbett spoke about last week when I wasn't obviously on. I was listening. Smith and Halliday were so much higher, overlapping the boys because they were so tight at the back. So that was a much better performance. And I'll hold my hands up. I was too critical.
That's the difference, isn't it? You're saying in terms of busting forward, like we know we can do that. We've seen him do that, but as we've seen him have to drop back into the Kingsley role, it's just been. I just wondered if that raised any question marks, but
I think the question marks came when the change of shape went in. So he dropped a back four, he dropped left back, Halliday went further up the field. he didn't have that sort of presence of somebody directly beside him to sort of mop them up when Halkett was there, sort of thing. Taylor Moore then came on in that last 10 minutes. There wasn't really much worries, to be fair.
And to be honest with you as well, like, not to get Pep Guardiola, right, but the way that modern football is played right now, see that ball over the top in between a wing back and a centre back or whatever, that's causing every team problems. Like, I think some of the Scottish teams I've watched in Europe, they were getting turned so easy, and all it is like a dinked ball in between that space, in that channel, where the centre back doesn't know whether to go get the ball, wing back doesn't know whether to drop back, and it's that confusion. So again, I think, like Brad has said there, I thought that he was targeted, for example. It's going to be something that teams will do. Aberdeen targeted him by putting the big man up on top of him and just launching balls forward. But as we did last week, we called Robbie out for being static in terms of not reacting to the changes that Aberdeen made and not reacting to what was happening in the game. I thought he adapted really well and reacted to the changes that Dundee United made on Saturday. I thought, like you said, Tim, there, he switched back, brought Moore on, went back to the original shape and kind of seen the game out type thing, which was good to see. And then again, just to highlight that difference, being able to bring Ginnelly on off the bench, and it'll be the same being able to bring Gary Mackay-Steven on off the bench or Woodburn on off the bench. It instantly just gave us a different dynamic, as did, I think, having Nando up front. Even because of the way the Scottish game's played, even just having Nando as a presence makes a difference, because naturally centre-backs are drawn to him because he's big. That's what they'll do. They'll go and they'll think, we need to go 2 on him whenever the ball comes up. Instantly gives Boyce more space, instantly gives Ginnelly more space, all that sort of stuff, because he's just physically taking up a space. And in Scotland, you're sort of, because it's a big guy, you're naturally drawn to him. And I think that helped us.
What a change in tempo from Gino that on Saturday. Like, even when Nando scored, you could see how pumped he was. I think for him, that was the performance he knows he can put in.
Yeah.
Get the ball and run it, boys. Go for it. Because you can tell by your interview with him, he's maybe a bit frustrated with how he's started this season. He's got more to give. That, honestly, was, if he can do that every week, it's going to fucking tear boys apart. And
to be honest with you, he'll have been told by Robbie when he was come on, just go and do it. Like, just go and express yourself. It's different from starting. I'm assuming that the message, for example, we're going to talk about the Hibs game, will be like, don't do anything daft, keep the ball, grow into the game. Bringing him on and being able to say to him, just get it, boys, straight away. Get to the byline, take them on, they're tired or whatever. I think that plays to Gino's strengths. I think that's what he wants to do, rather than sort of hold the position, track back or whatever. Just say, get a head down, take players on, shoot, fucking cut inside, lollipops, fucking Cruyff turns, whatever you want, just go for it. And I think that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen on Saturday from him, which was class. And then, to be fair to Big Nando, I thought he took his goal well. He's going to be awkward. We've said that from the start. I don't think he's refined, and I kind of agree with Shanks as well. If I had any slight disappointment about this transfer window, is that I would have liked to have seen a striker come in just to give us that option, because I don't know if Fernando is always going to be, is going to be the answer from the bench, but he took his goal brilliantly, I thought.
Especially after the pelters we were giving him when he couldn't get the ball at his feet when he first came.
Right.
So it was quite.
Wouldn't it be like us, wouldn't it?
Imagine us getting it wrong.
Imagine that. Right, cool. So, and then it was good, Robbie and that, talking about the fans. And again, we'll talk about it. We called it out on Saturday when we tweeted it, but that's what an away end is meant to be like. That was absolutely non-stop from minute 1 to minute 93 or whatever. They were singing or bouncing about. So fair play to everybody that went up. That's what Hearts is all about. Like, it was class, wasn't it?
Sure was. Some of the footage as well, and some of the little videos that was done by, I keep forgetting the guy's name for that's on Twitter, was absolutely superb.
What is it? Julian. Aye, the guy that did our intro video, Kev. That was nice of you, mate. That was nice. His work is top notch. Here's a word from him right now. But, No, it was class. And like I said as well, for all the Hibs fans listening, what we'll do is we'll write you a permission slip every time we go to a game and we think of a new song. We'll run it past you and make sure that at some point along the line you haven't sang it once or it's never been played, or you're fucking tannoy, you minx. Anyway, let's move on. Talking of minx, we play them the next game in the league. The Champions League winners will be playing Hibernian at Tynecastle on the 12th of September. What are we looking forward to this game? Because it's quite a weird one for me, to be honest with you, because Hibs were absolutely ganting against Livingston at home. They were pretty rubbish. Don't get me wrong, 2 good goals. Boyle's particularly was decent finish at the end. Nice play for Scott Allen and all that sort of stuff as well. But we both of us look like we're suited better to playing away from home. I think for 45 minutes we were really good against St Mirren. For about 70-80 minutes we were really good against Dundee United. For 70-80 minutes against Celtic we were pretty rubbish, and for long periods of the game against Aberdeen we were pretty rubbish at home. So, and they seem to be better away from home as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. My gut instinct is both managers would shake hands now and take a draw, just because it does neither of the two of them any harm. And that's
keep saying it.
Honestly, I care, but it's true. I think they would. The both of them could get, because either way, you know what it's like. It makes or break a season. Because if we win,
I agree with you, Corbett, 100%. Then they would, if they could seal the deal right now, they go for a scoring draw.
Aye, I would imagine so as well, because it keeps momentum going for both. So we might as well, Tam. What would you like to see? New guys have came in. Do you throw them in? Does Devlin start? Because I actually thought someone that we should have called out. I thought Peter Haring was immense on Saturday.
Yeah, I actually had that written in the notes saying he bossed it, to be fair. Obviously could have done better in the chances, but that's not his game being in the final third. I don't know what I'd change. I genuinely think, as much as I hate, and as you know, I'm like Scotland's #1 fan, but I hate the fact that there's an international break coming up, but I also think at the same time the international breaks probably came at a good time, because these new signings are going to have time to sort of develop. I think Ben Woodburn's been called up to the Wales squad, which is a bit annoying. Would have liked him to have a bit more time with his teammates, but I think it's came at a good time in terms of they will have that time to sort of prep for the game and really work with the newer guys. I don't really think there will be changes. I think the new guys will probably come in, but I suppose you wait and see what happens, to be fair.
A whole load of nothing to say, nothing. Thanks, Tam.
Why do you always come at me
Thanks,
first?
mate.
I like to copy somebody else. Nah.
You're like that. Why do you think I come to you first? Because I can't give you the opportunity to just regurgitate what Brad says. Right, Bradley, I'm coming to you now. Talk some sense, since we just had to listen to that shite for Tam. What would you change?
The only thing, I don't know what the options are. I thought GMS has been pissed the last 2 games.
Run 2 penalties.
He just seems to be off. I know. I don't know if it's just his previous clubs and he's maybe shat it a wee bit, but I need to see something else from him.
He has an unbelievably good goal scoring record against Hibs.
He does actually.
Stay in the team then.
It's last time he played with a hat trick.
Stay in the team. But the only other that option would be Woodburn in for GMS. Everything else stays exactly the same for me. Why would you take out Haring or Benny for Devlin? I think Devlin will suit Robbie when he goes back to, as Tam says, that inevitable 4-2-3-1 at whatever point he starts to play that of the game. He'll slot into that front three. That'll be his position, I think. But for me, starting lineup, either Woodburn in for GMS or leave it as is.
Who comes in for Woodburn if GMS comes?
Yeah. GMS, Woodburn started on Saturday.
Oh, Gino would be starting, obviously.
Gino would be obviously there. But I agree. I think a big tactic for the derby will be to win the midfield. So I don't see, if we were going to say, right, well, when it's a battle in the middle of the park, I think he'll always choose Haring and Benny. I think we've seen that in Aberdeen. You had Brown in that area, he'll want to win and dominate that area of the park. Hibs have got Newell and McGuinness in there. I think he'll play Benny and he'll play Haring in that space. Shanks?
How long's Kingsley out for?
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening with him. Is he back now though?
That was
Haven't
the
seen
report.
it.
It was not an illness, and then back training.
The only reason I say that, and sorry to keep harping on that, I never fucking seen the full game, but another bit of suspect for me in the Aberdeen game was Halliday getting forward. There was 3 or 4 times where really wanted him to hit the byline, and he was trying to kind of beat his man on the edge of the box. And I just wonder if it had been, if you maybe had Cochrane in there, and now that you've got more options at the back, you don't need to have Cochrane in there. Could you see Halliday drop out? But given that it's Hibs, you'd probably leave him in there just for his presence and his leadership. So I've just done what Tam's
Just
done.
talked yourself out
Said
of
words.
it.
Said nothing. Yeah, thanks, man.
Aye, that's a potential change based on players that play their positions, but they'll not play their positions.
Oh, that's good. Ando, you want to say something and then immediately talk yourself out of it?
No, I'm gonna give you a coherent statement, which is I didn't see the game on Sunday, and I've only Saturday, sorry, and I've only seen the highlights, so I'm not too sure what I would change. All I know is that what I want from the game is to have us beat Hibs by more than a 1-goal margin, because we've not done that in 7.5 years at home. It's a long time since we've won by any more than 1-goal margin at home. That needs to change. Whatever Nielsen has to do to accomplish that it needs to be the end goal.
I'm happy with that. Kev, what would you like to see?
I don't see, given the performance for in the first half, especially on Saturday, I don't see really any need to make any changes. Again, the turn around and say, well, Devlin's joined, so we need to start him. I think we maybe also need to equate to, if Woodburn plays for Wales this week and gets an injury, then does that always has an impact? I wouldn't actually change anything from Saturday's starting 11.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that everybody said. I wouldn't change. And
do you think Moore comes in though? Bearing in mind, like, we're playing a left back at left centre half. Do you think he comes straight in now that he's been with the club for a wee while?
That's what you're talking about, Shanks. That's what Shanks was going through, but then shat out of it again.
Depends on his
I
fitness
couldn't
level.
remember the name of Taylor Moore. That was the only thing. I bet he.
Got it in there. EVR's piece.
Well, aye, right then. Let's go predictions. I will do it again next week as well, as the game is closer. But anybody want to take a stab at a prediction straight away?
Yep, I'll take one. Hearts 3, Hibernian 1.
Nice. Shanks.
1-1.
1-1. Tamo.
Actually, the same. 1-1.
Brads.
1-0 Hearts, and we're leaving singing "Sunshine Underneath," our new song.
Aye. Well, it's a classic, isn't it? It's a tearjerker. Kev, what are you thinking?
I'm going to be bold this week. I'll say 2-0. I'll change that for next week.
Right, okay, that's good. I am also on that. I think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be 1-1 or a Desmond would be my stance as it is right now. And that's pretty
How
much
can
it.
I suddenly have become the most positive one here?
I know, it's a straight.
It's a massive swing.
Wait till we get to next.
Well, you are
Tuesday.
sitting in a car park about to go on a murder spree, so that's probably what it is. It's probably just the euphoria.
Actually, I think I'm just living in hope rather than anything else, because if the handbrake cable on this thing snaps, I'm away off a cliff, and I'm not even kidding. I'll send you a picture. It's terrifying.
No, don't send us a picture. Send us the passwords to YouTube so we can still get on when.
Tam's getting them. Don't worry.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, that's good then. That's good. Anything else, boys, that we want to talk about this week?
Covered
Good
it.
luck to Craig Gordon
I think that's
being
it.
number 1 for Scotland. Then come on Scotland and all that jazz.
Someone cut him
that
off.
out. Aye,
I'm in
get
charge
him
of the
cut,
night, man.
Cut. Aye, we'll be coming. We'll be coming. There'll be no intro music of that. It'll just be the Tartan Army guys in Timby boots with their kilts on singing that. I was just going to say, I said at the start, we'll frame it up, obviously. Massive thanks to everybody at Hearts for inviting us on Monday. Again, they didn't have to. It was a momentous day for the football club and to be a part of it. When you think we started this podcast just as a piss about and we're sitting down interviewing Budge and Andrew McKinlay or whatever was just ridiculous. We will have proper one-to-one interviews with both, hopefully, in the very near future that we'll be able to announce, very similar to our sit-downs with Savage. As we said, we will be speaking to Stuart Wallace and Gary Halliday. So when we have that confirmed, we'll let you know again. We'll even open it up to potentially being, you can come along if you want. We'll probably do it in Tiny Arms. So if you want to come along and be a part of the recording and ask any questions or whatever, we'll pop the details onto the socials as and when we get it. But I just want to say again, massive thanks to Kat, especially at the club, for letting us be involved. And that's pretty much everything. So we'll see you all next week, boys.
See you later.
See you all later.
Forget out.